as long as you're selling a product that you really believe in or a service you fully believe in, it's an ethical product, right? Then what you're doing is adding value to that person because they're there to see you and talk to you, not to buy a product. They're looking to solve a problem.
I'm your host, Chaz Wilson. I bring you successful entrepreneurs, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper. Hey, welcome to another episode of Connect, Share, Prosper. Welcome here, guys. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties too. Hey, first week back in the studio after a while, so excited about that. Let me introduce my guest to you today. And as you hop on, make sure you comment if you're watching live here on Facebook. Let me know you're here, and we will we'll put your comments or questions for Joe on the screen. Let me introduce my guest, Joe. First of all, AKA Mr. Always Good, was born and raised in the Flint, Michigan area where most of his family still lives today, and he moved to Texas in November of 2003. He's the co-founder and CEO of Always Good sales training firm and author, speaker, coach, and corporate leader turned entrepreneur. He began his career in a commission-only role, and but he wasn't satisfied with being average, and became determined to learn and do whatever it took to be great. Joe became a top producer, eventually moving into sales management, where he led teams producing over $60 million a year. And after nearly two decades of sales and leadership experience, he left corporate America and co-founded Always Good with his wife. And man, Joe, welcome to Connect, Share, Prosper.
Thanks for having me, Chaz. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, we've got Ken on here. We got Brad showing up. Guys, if you get on here, let me know you're here. Welcome. So I want to know, where does Mr. Always Good come from?
Well, so to try and make a long story somewhat short, Always Good, Mr. Always Good came from really the darkest time of my life. So I lost my father in 2003, and I went through a really dark period where I was questioning whether or not I was even good at sales anymore because it was affecting my sales career at the same time. And I was going through a training. It was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I was doing a homework assignment, and it had nothing to do with what came out of it. But I felt this overwhelming sense that I could still be proud of a lot of different things that happened in my life. And that every day after that day that I lost my father was a good day. And if I wanted to look for it, every day would be a good day. So I made a vow to myself in 2004 that if you asked me how I was, my answer was going to be, I'm always good from that day forward. And eventually that turned into people calling me Mr. Always Good, which eventually became the company name is Always Good as well.
Wow. That's a great story. So how do you transform that vision into the clients you're serving to? Well, I'll go back here in a second to your story, but how do you use that in the way that you coach and speak and write?
You know, absolutely. It does fuel everything. And when it comes to our training, the first part we do with our clients is really get the mindset right. Get them ready for the fact that every challenge is just another opportunity for you to prove who you are and prove how good you can be and to awaken the sleeping hero that's inside of you.
Yeah.
And we really start with the mindset first. And that helps us when we get into our actual formula for the sales part of it. The mindset helps out a lot.
Yeah. We'll get to the sales training here in a second and some of the things you guys teach. Phenomenal. So you were in corporate job, and I talked about that in your bio here. What was the catalyst for you to say, I'm going to jump out of that opportunity to go on my own, which is so scary. And look, a lot of people are being forced to do that right now. Right. So what was it for you? What was the catalyst for you that made that jump, and how was it to make that jump?
Well, so nobody asked me to do it, but I went out and I rewrote the sales process because we never really had a real process. We were training people. And then I wrote new call scripting. And after that was rolled out and successful in my department, it was then rolled out to the Latin American team. So it was translated into Spanish and Portuguese. Then it was translated into French, and then started being used at the global call centers throughout the world with us. And I realized that I loved being able to help my group of like 75 people, but I could help so many more people learn how to make sales fun and really do it from a place of service, a place of helping the people that you're trying to sell, make a decision, solve a problem, get what they want, really.
Yeah.
And I was watching a video from Eric Thomas, riding my exercise bike in the morning. It was the toe, if you've ever seen it on YouTube. And it was like God was speaking to me saying, you're either going to commit 100% like I've told you to start your own business before, I just hadn't listened. But it was like he said, you'll have your skill, but not my grace if you don't commit 100% right now. And that was it. I went in that day. I quit my job. Very, very lucrative career. and said, okay, it's all on us. Stepped away from it and haven't looked back.
And how long ago was that?
April 3rd, 2019.
April 3rd. So you just hit the 1 year
Yep.
anniversary. Congrats.
Thank you.
I think a lot of people relate to this feeling like starting a business is like a calling that they feel above themselves, right? And that's why I think, right now in this sense that we're in, I think a lot of entrepreneurs are having a hard time when they're said, hey, whatever state they live in, hey, you can't work or you're non-essential or you get and when you've felt you've been called to something and it's your lifeblood and it's the thing that you rely on, how can it not be essential? How can it not be essential to what you do? And so I just think people in government don't understand that. I'm not talking about safety. We're talking about something different. I'm just talking about the ability to do your business and feel that calling to what you've been called to do. You still feel that sense 1 year in?
100%. I still feel like this is exactly what I was meant to do. As scary as it is, as hard as it can be, as lonely as it can feel from time to time. Mm-hmm. It's the moments that I have with our clients, the moments of having just all the aha moments from other people as what they're learning really clicks and they start to take it and then run with it in their own way. Because right, you can't do everything exactly the way I teach you to do it. You have to put your own flair into it, your own twist into it. And getting them to that point, it's so much fun watching more people's livelihoods and their income increase. And yeah, it's just, I feel like this is what I was meant to do from the time I was a child. I really do believe that.
And then it doesn't feel like work because you're just like you're using all of your primary skills and talents in the direction.
Absolutely.
So Joe, how do you, this is a question I want to ask. You work with your wife and some people can make that work and some people that's just a challenge to work together. And so how do you guys make that work?
A lot of time apart. Like, I'm not going to lie about that 100%. Like even when we were just, employees of a different company. In fact, for the 7 years leading up to starting our business, we worked on the same floor for the same company, different departments. So we didn't see each other every day, all day long.
Right.
But we would, have lunch together, stuff like that. But we realized even then, like we tried to carpool for a little while. That was a bad idea. Like I needed the 30 minutes, the 45-minute drive to work to get ready for work, to be ready for home. And we find now even more so, like we have to deliberately say, okay, I would love to be able to just stay with you and do this with you right now, but I need to be in a completely different room, or before the shutdown, I need to go to a co-working place, or I need to go up to Starbucks or something just to get away so that we're not in the same room together. Because I don't care who you are. My wife's my best friend, but you're around someone every day, all day long, you're going to get on each other's nerves for things you didn't even realize bothered you.
Yeah. So you're setting boundaries. You're setting that time together of like, look, this is when we work together and collaborate together. This is where I'll go get my space to think and expand the mindset and then come back together and do it. But it's smart, right?
Yeah. And it also helps with the understanding that we're different people, even though we're very similar. Like, I don't know if you use DISC assessments or anything, yes, but we're very similar on our DISC profiles. I'm a super high D, like 98D. I'm like a 77I, and it doesn't change much for me, adaptive or natural. My wife is very similar, but her adaptive is higher I, higher S. And so I need to realize that there's times where I can be completely 100% direct and blunt and focused on only the solutions. And sometimes I have to tone that down a little bit, talk to her more as a husband, less like a business partner, and knowing that her process and mine are different. So when we are doing something where we're going to have different processes involved in it, we got to separate first, then come back together when we're ready to do it together. And have already worked out some of the kinks we know are going to irritate each other.
That's powerful, especially as people are trying to navigate this, in an isolated setting sometimes, right? Like, how do we make this work and have our own boundaries and spaces? You teach people selling is fun.
Yeah.
Why is selling fun? And how do I make it fun?
Well, first off, selling inherently is value added. Right? What you're doing with somebody that, as long as you're selling a product that you really believe in or a service you fully believe in, it's an ethical product, right? Then what you're doing is adding value to that person because they're there to see you and talk to you, not to buy a product. They're looking to solve a problem. And when you can come into a sale from the place of, I'm only there to help you get what you want, to feel good about what you get and feel good about buying it from me if you're going to buy it from me.
Yes.
If I don't have what you want, I'm just going to tell you where to go. I'm not going to try to high pressure you into buying something you don't need that isn't going to help you in any way. And you can have fun with it because a lot of times what we find, I have found, and we have found through training our clients is that people get in this idea of maybe the customer doesn't want the product that they're talking to them about. But if you have a good product, there's people out there that have a problem that product solves, whether it be advertising or training or a new gadget or a new piece of software for a company to use. There's always a problem that's there that you're trying to help solve. And when you can remove your own wants from the sale, and it's the hardest part to do, but to only focus on them and nothing about you, it becomes fun because you're not in it going, oh my God, am I going to get a sale? Oh my God, am I going to make money? Oh my, it's just, I either helped you say yes or helped you say no. Either way, I helped you. Next.
That's right. Yeah. Help you say yes or help you say no. I like that. And I think right now that's the question that a lot of people are asking themselves is my product still something I believe in, especially as things are changing? You know, have I evolved my product? Is it still something I believe in? There was a short time in my life as an entrepreneur. I mean, a very short time, I say, where I was employed by somebody else. It was a very, I had a job per se. It was a sales job. I was consulting them, but I was helping their sales team. And I remember there became pretty quickly into it this moment where I was like, I have learned the sales script. I've learned the products, everything about it. I don't believe it's the best thing out there to help people right now. I think it's an old, antiquated system, an old product, an old service, et cetera. And things were moving into higher technology. And I remember for about 4 months while I tried to figure my way through it, just not feeling like I was authentic and genuine and real. And then it really felt like when everyone says what selling really is, I was selling, because I was selling myself on the product every day because I was not buying it. How hard is it, right, to sell something when you just don't buy it? So how important right now is it for people? Like, how do you measure the level of I believe in my product and service so much? Like, how do I metric that? Is there a way to do that? Like, is there a way to go, I absolutely love this so much that I know I'm selling the right product or service?
Yeah, there is. Absolutely. It's a great question too, Ches. So I've been there too. I've been in a position where I was like, do I really want to, I was doing contract recruitment. I was making really good money doing it, but I had gotten to a point where I started to feel like, man, my whole job is to get people to take way less than what the job pays so that I can make money off the profit. And that eventually I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't. I feel like I'm cheating people. And the company I worked for wasn't the most ethical either, because they would fudge the numbers in the books so that the people we were staffing to didn't realize that we were making double the profit they said we should.
Oh,
right. So it was bad. And it came from the top down there. And that really got to the point where I was like, no, I'm done. And when I realized it, I hadn't even realized why I started not liking going to work. But the way that you know is, one, if it's a product that you would buy and there's other versions of it, do you own the product you sell or do you have something else?
Right.
If you have something else, you're not 100% sold on it. That's like if you were an Amway and you never bought from the Amway store, you must not believe in it. Why would you ever expect it to work? So know that part of it for sure. If it's a service, does this service really help somebody solve a problem? Maybe not a problem I need to solve, but does it help somebody solve a problem? And then you got to ask yourself, do I believe in what I'm selling so much that it's a disservice to not tell somebody about it?
That's good.
And when you're there, it's a product you would buy. And if you can buy it, you do buy it. It's a service that you know helps people solve a problem. And you believe that not telling somebody is a disservice. That's when you know you're in the right position.
So, sorry, I'm just writing a note. That was good. So, am I a product of my own product? Do I own the product? And it would be a disservice if I was not giving. I think there's another thing I would add to that too, that sometimes comes. I put myself in this mentality. This is my own self-talk. Is I believe my product will help somebody so much that I even believe this is on a one-off occasion they should go in debt for my product, because I believe it will solve the problem so much so that they should actually go into debt for it.
Yeah.
I
like that. No, that's
my
a
own
great way
thought.
of looking at it. I mean, think about a car. We go into debt for a car.
Right.
We go into debt for a house.
Right.
I mean, you might even go into debt for a boat. But if you think about it, what problem does a car solve? Transportation, the ability to get to a new destination. And you want to do it in a way that feels good. So some people, it's all about the look of the car. Other people, it's safety. But it still solves a problem. That boat, man, some people just really like being on the water. You solved the problem. Now they can go out on the water.
Right.
Right. But
yeah.
So why wouldn't you, if you have a great service, say, hey, you should be able to go into debt because of this? Like somebody tells me, oh, I don't know if I can afford your coaching. My usual response is, well, then you absolutely need to find a way to afford my coaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. So how much do you believe, I get mixed different sides of this coin as a sales trainer and so forth. How much do you believe in scripts?
100%.
Why?
100%. Here's the thing. Now, most people, when you think of a script, they think, oh, but I'm going to sound robotic, right? That's not the script I'm talking about. Now, every script you ever have will start that way. It'll feel robotic because you have to read it. But think about like Tom Hanks playing Forrest Gump. You felt like he was the character, or any character in any movie like that, right?
Yes.
And the person playing it isn't that character, but man, they make it so convincing. It's because of the script and the repetition of work put in to make it 100% authentic. Once you can do that, now the beauty of it comes into play that I don't have to think about what I'm going to say next when I have it ingrained in my body. I just know what's going to be said next, so I can focus on listening to the answers to the questions I ask.
I agree. By the way, I'm on that camp too. I think having a script is important, and then it becomes internal, to where some of those actors they own it, and I think that's the piece, right? It has to be you, so that doesn't feel like you're saying something you wouldn't authentically say, right? And then you own it, so that it comes out differently. So, what's a good tactic or skill or technique or some tip right now, especially in this marketplace, that our listeners should be deploying or should understand when it comes to selling right now? What should they know that they could implement right away?
This is going to sound like it's the most like, wow, why didn't I already know this comment? But still, double your efforts. Double the efforts you've been putting in, because you need to. Yeah. If you double the efforts and you end up getting 50, like let's say you get 20% more results out of it because you doubled your efforts. Now this challenging time that we're in isn't even a challenge for you. The only challenge is, can I sustain that when times are good? Right now is where you get to really find out, how hungry am I? How hard am I willing to work? So that when times go back to being easier again, if I can keep that same level of activity up, and you're setting yourself up for massive success. But double the work you're doing right now.
What's interesting about doubling the work too, I think it will also reveal a couple of other things is, I often say it's either the time on the task or the skill. And so if you're spending more time on the task and not even seeing you maintain your current levels or normal levels of sales, then it might reveal your skill needs some work. And the best way to increase the skill is to spend more time on it. Right. So you win in both occasions by spending more time on the task.
Absolutely.
Doubling your efforts, right?
Repetition. Got to have it.
Yeah, repetition. Are you a big phone caller with scripts, or are you internet sales, or what do you think?
I mean, I think any face-to-face sale, phone call sale, I mean, obviously if it's an internet sale, you got to have great copy on there. It's kind of like a script. They're just reading it themselves, or maybe you have a great video that you use with it, but doesn't matter what it is, especially have an absolute process that you follow. That step one is here and it works itself down. Step one, I'm going to meet and greet everybody. Step two, I'm going to ask the right fact-finding questions and build rapport. Then step three, I'm going to clarify. Step four, I'm going to then recommend my product, and I'm going to handle any concerns or overcome any objections. And then I'm going to get to the last step, close, or next steps. And remember that I'm not going to move from step 2 to step 3 until I'm done. And I'm not going to move from 3 to 4 until I'm done. And I'm not going to let the customer or the client derail me by asking me questions like, well, how much does it cost? Like, okay, we'll get to that. Believe me, I'll cover that. But I still have more questions I need to ask. And being scripted about it from start to finish in whatever field you do, whatever it is, face-to-face, over the phone, or whatever, again, putting in the work to make it just how you act, how you behave, who you are every time. The consistency of having that is what really makes it the most powerful. The consistent applied use of the I guess you could say, strategy.
Yeah, it's good. Now, this is stuff you guys teach. Like, so you help people lay out their sales process. You help them with their scripting, right? Even, give them feedback on it and all of those kinds of things. I know that you have a workshop summit, I should say, is probably the better way to call it, coming up for people in the Dallas area. How can they learn about it? Are you still selling tickets? Is it still on? Like all of that stuff?
Yeah. So we are still selling tickets. It looks like as of like not yesterday, Friday, we got an email from the venue saying, hey, if we were to do anything this month, we'd only be able to have like 20 people in there. It's a 100-person summit. And so it's like, that's not going to work out. So we end up having to push that out into October now.
Okay.
Tickets are still being sold. So that's available on Eventbrite. If you search Next Level Summit in the Dallas area, we will pull up. Still there, still going. Right now we have like 40 seats still available. And anybody who buys a ticket or has bought a ticket, we're doing weekly mastermind calls on Saturdays at 11 a.m. now with everybody, just to really give as much value as we can. Because this was supposed to happen in March. Now it's going to happen in October. But
yeah,
you got to roll with the punches, right?
Well, that's just it. And that's where having a good sales process, you understand. I think most people right now, where the fear starts to creep and where they start to go is, I don't have a sales process clearly defined. I don't have a funnel large enough of leads coming in that I can keep reaching out to. And so I just think productivity is one of the best healers of depression and frustration and anxiety right now of business, right? Is that productivity is the key. What, you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. When I'm smiling and laughing, because I think that's the secret key to that in general. Like, even if it's in your personal life, how do you get out of the funk you're in? Be more productive. Go, figure out, how could I interact with that person better, or how could this be a better situation? But being productive, like, I think we as humans get stifled when we feel like we're not giving 100% of our effort in what we're doing.
Yeah.
We don't realize how much that chips at our soul. And especially at work, because now you feel like you're stealing from them because you're not giving them 100%. And then we start to justify it and tell, well, they don't deserve 100% of my effort. Well, you chose to take the job on. So of course they deserve 100% of your effort. Right. And so that in and of itself, giving your all, which will always make you more productive in the end, solves almost all problems.
So good. Yeah. I just recently had this conversation with one of my children because, look, it's tough for them too. They're at home and I'm like, what can you control? Well, you can control getting up and making your bed and picking up your room and going for a run and setting some goals. And like, we started to list all these things. And before we know it, there was like 15 things they could control just in about 2 minutes. And it's like, how would you feel if you were able to by noon have all of that accomplished? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'd feel good. Look, these are lessons that are timeless, right? It doesn't matter if you're 10 or you're 50, like being productive and controlling these things. And that's why I love selling, because it feels to me like I can put in a certain amount of input or raise that level of input and get a result. And it's one of the few things in business that you go, if I put this result in, I get this, or I put this effort in, I get this result. Right. And allows the motivation and the inspiration and the feeling of confidence come into that. So any last tips that you have for people like right now? What could they go do right away to improve their selling?
I mean, one of the things that they could do to go improve their selling right away is to go to freeaccess.allwaysgood.com. That's ALLWAYSGOOD. So freeaccess.allwaysgood.com. You can take the first 5-part course for free. You're going to learn the basics, kind of like a 30,000 foot overview of exactly what we're going to teach throughout the rest of the course. And if it's something that you decide you want to move forward with, you have the option to buy into that. It's only $97 a month. There's 22 separate lessons, 4 modules to go through. There's twice a month group coaching calls that come along with that. There's also a free strategy session that you get one-on-one real coaching with me, which is normally like a $500 an hour by itself. So there's a lot of value there. Also, when you sign up, we send you a copy of our ebook, which is the Next Level Sales Playbook, 5 steps to becoming your own sales hero. That's really all about the mindset, right? To get that part started off for you. So that all comes with it.
Wow.
And we try to, give as much value as we can as often as possible.
So it's freeaccess.allwaysgood.com.
Yes.
Guys, go there, freeaccess.allwaysgood.com. You'll be able to get those training modules, the ebook, all of those things that Joe just offered. Joe, really, man, this is an interesting time for people. And this is where skill, to me, number one, if you have a great attitude, but then you bring the great skill, right? The mindset, the skill set, you bring that to the equation each day. Like you said, hey, the mindset is always good. Then improve my skill set every day to be better. I think there's a void in many of the industries of people watching today going, there's a void. And guys, you have the opportunity to fill that void and take advantage of market share that others in your industry are not going to take advantage of right now. And so I think you're going to see a gap of performance. You're going to see a gap of achievers and a low achievement gap. And there's going to be this just massive change where everyone was sort of like fluctuating the in-betweens. It's going to be like this now.
Absolutely. I think it doesn't matter how small of a company you have right now. You have the ability to compete with the biggest players in the game.
Yes. In fact, maybe more opportunities than you've ever had before, to be truthful, in some industries.
For sure.
Yeah. So freeaccess.allwaysgood.com. Joe, man, pleasure to have you on the podcast today. Thank you for joining us. Guys, remember, every Monday, noon central, I bring to you successful entrepreneurs who, look, they show the ups, the downs, the ins, the outs, quick chats on success stories and things that they're learning. And they always share tips. So make sure you go to Master Network's Facebook page, subscribe, and get notified when we go live. And then every Wednesday, the replay comes out on all your favorite podcast channels. Make sure you share this. Invite others who are struggling right now. It's an interesting time, and they can go back and listen to all the archived episodes of Connect, Share, Prosper. So again, until next time, guys, be always good, and I will see you next week on Connect, Share, Prosper. Till then, be well.